Hello dear students and welcome to the first class in English. In today's class we will have something important, but before that let me welcome you on behalf of this university, this grand university, the Open University of Sudan. We would like to record this genres in English. You know, talking about genres in English is very important, dear students, but sometimes you might have a grasp over aspect of a language, but having grasp over all the language is something not difficult, you know. And today we are going to talk about literature, English literature. Proverbs in English say that they are the adornment of speech if we make personification for them. They are the adornment of speech. But, you know, genres in English are the adornment of literature. Let us begin. Unit 1. Fiction. Let us handle the course contents. We have 3 units. The first unit, the second unit, and the third unit. In Unit 1, we shall talk about fiction. In Unit 2, we shall be talking about drama. And in Unit 3, we will be talking about poetry. But let us begin with talking about fiction. This is an introduction to literature. We shall have the general objectives, first of all. The general objectives, dear students, are to introduce, they are meant to introduce you to the English language and to the field of literature in particular. Second of which, they are going to encourage you to develop interest in literary study. The third one is to develop confidence, and that is very important. You must be confident with yourselves. They are going to develop confidence to express their responses effectively. We want you to express your responses effectively and in a better way. And the last point of the objective is we are going to train you how to use critical concepts and how to use terms with understanding and awareness. Let us begin by defining fiction. The definition of fiction is very important. The term fiction is a general concept, general idea, general thought. It is used to refer to the art of storytelling, which is recognized in the various fictional forms, such as the novel and short story. This is very important, dear students. If we have a look here on the board, this is very important. And we shall be looking at the fiction, which is the form of literature, which is also different from drama and different from poetry at all. You see? In fact, let me tell you something in confidence, dear students. It is a distinctive literary genre of its own. It refers to novels and short stories collectively, and it is used to differentiate the imaginative between the imaginative literature from non-fiction, such as history and geography. Thus, fiction is basically a narrative told in prose. Let us have a look, dear students, at the aims, the targets, the objectives of fiction. All fictional forms, purposes, the various purposes and different objectives. We have all fictional various purposes and different objectives, such as psychological novel. Let us have the psychological novel. For example, the psychological novel deals with man's psychological problems and the psychological experiences man has to suffer throughout his life. Next of which, we have the historical novel, which focuses on the history of nations, kings, queens, noble personalities, and dignitaries. The didactic novel, which aims at reforming man's morality, is the novel which deals with the life of individual people or the life of a society or community. It concentrates on some aspects of society, such as the social and economic conditions, for example. There is also the Gothic novel, which deals with cruel passions and supernatural terrors in some medieval setting, such as a haunted castle or a haunted monastery or a haunted house, as we say. So here we look at the third point, which is the novel. The novel is an extended work of prose fiction. It depicts human lives at large, talks about human life from A to Z. In it, the novelist tells the reader about his or her personal option of life. In other words, it reflects human life in the universe around us, that is macrocosm, which is very big and large universe, in a kind of miniature representation, that is microcosm, small universe. The novel may portray a way of life as well, or a social class, often with implicit or explicit criticism, either destructive criticism or constructive one, of contemporary society, of the society of now. Sometimes some novels deal with human experiences and relationships, which are kinships also. Others may probe into profound psychological issues. May probe means may investigate. The English novel has enriched English literature with many masterpieces, very grand masterpieces written by great novelists. Let us have the fourth one, which is the fourth option of genres, short story. The short story is a form of prose fiction. As the name suggests, it's very short. It usually narrates, tells a limited number of events, incidents, with concentration on a single aim with one plot. It often involves a small number of characters. The writer of a short story gets away from unnecessarily repetitive and detailed descriptions. Why? Because the short story demands economy and conciseness. It has to be short in form. One main difference between the short story and the novel, dear students, is that the short story is more economical and does not allow for elaboration, does not allow any elaboration. You don't have to enlarge it. Usually, there is one single main point around which the whole story revolves, and there is one plot also. In the novel, however, there is more room, there is more space for detailed descriptions and elaborated treatment of characters, setting and theme. Elements of fiction. We are going to have the elements of fiction right now. We are moving a little bit towards the topic. We are moving towards the topic in a better way. Let us have setting, which is the first one of the elements of fiction. Setting. Setting is the time and place at which the action of a novel or short story takes place. The description of the setting informs, tells you a great deal about what is happening or about what is to come. When the details of the setting are given in the beginning of the story, then this will enable you to understand, to comprehend what is to come later on in the story. The details of the setting are very helpful, close to what the story will be about. Now let us have number 2, which is character. The term character is used to refer to a person or animal in a novel or short story. Characters are imaginary people, fictional people, or animals created by the writer in a work of fiction, a work of imagination. The process by which writers of novels and short stories reveal, disclose the characters in a work of fiction is called characterization. That's called characterization. It is the means by which the writer makes characters seem real, personifies them to be real to their reader. So there are various methods here which can be used by writers to develop characters in a story. These include, let us have a highlight here. These include displaying the character's actions, showing the character's appearance, revealing the character's thoughts, ideas, letting the character speak, and getting the reactions of others. Characters are of various types, of various kinds, of various sorts. We have the round character. Round characters are complex and multi-dimensional, just like real people. Flat characters, number 2, are one-dimensional and superficial. They can be described in a single sentence. The third one, dynamic characters, are characters who change in an important way because of action in the story. And the semi-last one is the static character, the stagnant character. These are characters who do not change much or at all in a story, during a story. Let us have the stock character. Stock characters, these are predictable. You can't tell about them. Stereotypes of people, predictable. You can tell about them, or you can't if you like. These are stereotypes of people. And the last one, let us talk about point of view. How do you think? How do you view? How do you look at the story? How do you look at the novel? How do you look at the genre? This term refers to who tells the story. Every story is told by a narrator. This is usual, dear students, who is created by the author and is usually different from the author himself or herself. An author might be a lady. The narrator controls the story by talking from a particular point of view. Thus, point of view refers back to who tells the story and how the story is told. Let us talk about the plot of the story. The term plot is used to refer to the arrangement, organization of ideas, of thoughts, events, and incidents that make up a story. You see, it is the author's conscious selection and arrangement of incidents in a story to shape that action and give the story a particular focus. They focus on a particular by personification, as we say. When you study a plot, ask yourself, dear student, what happens? And also ask yourself how and why things happen in that way, the way they do. Some stories are written in a pyramidal pattern in which the plot is divided into 3 essential parts. But before this, let me clarify the point on the pyramidal pattern. What is a pyramidal pattern? The pyramidal pattern in which is the middle, in which the plot is divided into 3 essential parts, 3 important parts. What are they? The first part is called rising action, just like rising intonation. When you speak, rising intonation and falling intonation of the voice. So here, rising is very important. Rising action in which complication creates some sort of conflict, some sort of dispute for the hero of the story. The second part is the climax. That is the upper part. That's the upper part of the story, which is the moment of the greatest emotional tension in a story. The climax usually makes a turning point, just like the turning point in history. But that's the turning point in the plot at which the rising action reverses to become the falling action. The third part is called falling action, just like falling intonation of your voice when you speak. Falling intonation and rising intonation govern the way you speak. So people judge you by the way you speak. But here in literature, it is different. The third part is called falling action or resolution. This is very important. That is the design of the story. It is characterized by diminishing tension, lessening tension, making it less, and resolution of the plot. Plot, conflict, and complication. The plot conflicts and complications must be here so that they can give you an insight of knowing literature very well. So let us have extracts for study, and that is the cream of the crop. That's the cream of the crop. We have reached the cream of the crop. Extract 1 from Animal Farm by George Orwell. You have had this book and you are going to study it again for this semester. Read the extract, then answer the questions that follow. Old Major speech. Let us listen and hear Old Major's speech. Mr. Jones was the owner of the manor farm. He had shut the animals up for the night, closed them in a sheep pen. But he had not done it properly. Because, do you know why, dear students? Because he was completely intoxicated. He was completely drunk. He was too drunk to remember what to do. So he locked them improperly, not in a proper way. He walked unsteadily, staggering up and down, yes, across the yard. And when he reached the back door of the farmhouse, he kicked off his boots because he was intoxicated. He then entered the kitchen and poured himself another glass of beer. When he had finished this, he walked heavily upstairs. Mr. Jones had gone to bed long before and was falling asleep, was snoring very fast, was snoring fast, you know. As soon as the light in the bedroom went out, all the animals stared, looked to move about. They wanted to move about because the daylight has come. They were going to have a meeting. Old Major, as the oldest pig was called, Old Major, had a strange dream the night before. And he wanted to tell the animals all about it, to disclose his dream to the animals. So this is very important. We learn lessons from this story. They had agreed to meet in the big barn, which is a sheep pen, a place where we put sheep for the night, where we herd sheep, where we put grains and stores grain as well. So they had agreed, the animals agreed to meet in the big barn. All the animals agreed to do so, and as Mr. Jones had gone to bed, because they don't want to do that in his presence when he is awake, because he's a cruel man. They wanted him to go to sleep, and then they might practice what they do. They might carry on their conference, their meeting. So Mr. Jones had gone to bed. All the animals respected Old Major and were therefore quite willing to miss an hour's sleep so that they could hear what he had to say. They wanted to listen carefully to what he had to say. At one end of the big barn, on a raised platform, on a raised podium, sat Old Major. Above his head hung a lamp. He was 20 years old and had recently grown rather fat. Even so, this is different from even though. Even so is different from even though, dear students. Please try to master this when you come over. He was still a handsome pig. Handsome, beautiful, and had a wise and kindly appearance. It did not take long for all the other animals to arrive. First came the three big Bluebell pigs. The three pigs are named Bluebell, Jesse, and Pincher. You know, then came the young pigs. First, they came pigs, older pigs, and then younger pigs, who lay down in the straw, in the grass, just in front of the platform. In front of the platform, which is the podium. The hens hopped up to the windows. The cows lay down in the straw, in the grass, behind the pigs. The two cart horses, Boxer and Clover, came in together. They walked very slowly and carefully, making sure that they did not step on any of the smaller animals. Clover had foals, young horses. A foal is a young horse, and was getting rather fat as she became overaged. Boxer, because we never last forever. We as people, as well as animals, we never last forever. So age has to tell on us all. Age has to tell on us all. Boxer was an enormous beast. Beast means animal. Enormous means very big. And as strong as any two ordinary horses, both together. Was very strong. A white stripe down his nose gave him a rather stupid appearance. And in fact, he really was not very clever, stupid. Nevertheless, he was well respected for his readiness of character and for his ability to work hard. After the horses came Muriel, the white goat, and Benjamin, the donkey. Then Calova made a kind of wall around them with her great front leg, and the ducklings crept down inside. Crept down means was paddling cheerfully. The ducklings, the young of ducks, were paddling cheerfully, and quickly fell asleep. At the last woman came Molly. She was a foolish, pretty, white pony horse, small horse. She was chewing a lump of sugar and walked slowly, so lightly that she seemed to be dancing, staggering, just like to be dancing, you know, moving. They just move into this direction. She took a place near the front and began shaking her white mane. Mane is the hair on the neck of a horse, long hair on the neck of a horse. Shaking her white mane, hoping that everyone would notice the red ribbons that were tied in it. She wanted to show off herself. Last of all came the cat, who looked around as usual for the warmest place. She finally decided to squeeze herself, mean to put herself in a very tight position between them, between Boxer and Clover. They can protect her. She lay there quite happily throughout old Major's speech without listening to a word of what he was saying. Here is a word missing. Without listening to a word of what he was saying. Then, now, friends, he started saying, now, friends, what is the nature of this life of ours? This is a satiric style. And let's be honest about it. Our lives are miserable, full of labor, and in short, we are born and we are given just enough food to keep us alive. Moment we are no longer useful, we are cruelly killed. No animal in England knows the meaning of happiness or free time after he is an year old. He is 1 year old. No animal in England is free. The life of an animal is all misery and slavery. That is the plain truth. Don't put yourself in a kind of mess. But this simply part of the order of nature. Is it because this land of ours is so poor that it cannot provide a good life for those who live upon it? No, friends, 1,000 times no. The soil of England is rich. Its climate is good. It is able to provide much more food than is necessary for the number of animals that now dwell in it, live in it. This single farm of ours could provide enough food for a dozen horses, 20 cows, hundreds of sheep, and all of them could still live in comfort and in dignity. That is almost impossible to imagine. See, dear students, see the metaphors, see the similes here. Now, why then do we continue to live in this miserable way? Because nearly all that is produced, our labor, is stolen from us by humans. And there, dear friends, is the answer to all our problems. It is found in a single word. Man is the only real enemy, is the only menace we have. Remove man from our land, and the main cause of too much work and hunger is gone forever. So, please, master this, and we will jump over to the drama and poetry after a while after this. Dear students, we will be able next time to provide you with what you like about learning literature. With this, we conclude for now, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you very much, and thanks for the team working to reproduce these classes. Thanks a lot.